All right, let's talk about the how of learning. Because it's not just about what a student can cram into their brain, right? It's about all the different ways they can show us what they actually know. I mean, we've all been there. You study like crazy, you get the concepts, you feel good about it, and then you sit down for a test and it just doesn't capture any of it. So what's the deal with that disconnect?
And this really gets to the heart of it. A typical test is just one snapshot, on one day, usually under a ton of pressure. But what a student really knows? Well, that's something much deeper. It's about being able to apply ideas creatively, to actually solve problems, skills that a bubble sheet is never, ever going to measure.
So how do we fix this? How do we bridge that gap? Well, the answer comes from this really powerful idea in Universal Design for Learning, or UDL. And it's all about giving students lots of different ways to engage, and you guessed it, to express what they know.
So here's the big idea. Instead of forcing everyone down the same single path, we open it up. We offer options. And listen, this isn't about making things easier, not at all. It's about getting a more accurate, more authentic picture of what a student understands by letting them use their strengths to show it.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? Every single person has a unique way of showing what they know. Some of us are fantastic writers. Others are incredible speakers. Some of us need to build things, to create things. When we actually acknowledge that, we create so many more paths to success.
Okay, so what does this actually look like in a classroom? Let's get practical and crack open what we could call the digital expression toolbox for today's learners.
First up, one of my absolute favorites, digital storytelling. This is such a cool way for students to take what they've learned and weave it into something memorable.
So instead of a dry written report, imagine a student creating a little mini-movie about the life cycle of a butterfly, complete with images, their own narration, maybe even some music. This is huge for kids who think visually or are still learning the language. They're not just spitting back facts, they're crafting a story. That's a huge skill.
All right, next up in the toolbox, video responses. Honestly, this can be a total game changer, especially for students who can talk through an idea brilliantly, but freeze up when they have to write it down.
Just think about it. A student could pull out their phone and record a quick video explaining exactly how they solved a tough math problem, step by step. We get to see their thinking process in a way that's so much more dynamic than just looking at the final answer on a page.
You know, learning isn't just a one-time thing. It's a journey, a process of growth over time. So how can we capture that? Well, that's where portfolios come in. A portfolio is so much more than just a folder of A-plus papers. It's the whole story. It's the rough drafts, the experiments that didn't quite work, the final projects. By collecting all this stuff in one place, say a simple Google Slides deck, students can actually see their own progress. They become the curators of their own learning. Now, digital tools are amazing, but learning isn't just about what happens on a screen. So let's look at a few ways to get students moving, interacting, and learning with their hands.
First, let's talk about something that can be incredibly fun and powerful, role play. This is where students literally get to step into someone else's shoes.
Imagine you're trying to understand a complex historical debate. Sure, you could read about it, or you could act it out. When students take on the roles of historical figures, they start to understand the motivations and the pressures in a much deeper, more personal way. It really makes history come alive.
And for all of us who really learn best by doing, we've got simulations and hands-on learning. This is where theory gets real. This is where the magic happens. You're not just reading about weather patterns, you're in a simulation, using data to make your own forecast. You're not just looking at a picture of the solar system, you're building a model of it. These kinds of activities are so engaging, especially for learners who need to move and touch and build to understand.
Okay, but here's the thing. It's great to offer all these cool options, but we can't just throw students in the deep end. We have to give them the support they need to succeed. This is all about supporting what we call executive functions, which is just a fancy way of saying all the skills that help us plan, stay organized, and actually get things done. The key is to provide simple structures, or scaffolds, things like a graphic organizer to help a student map out their digital story, or a simple checklist to keep a big project on track. Maybe even just some sentence starters for a video script. These tools don't give them the answer. They just clear the path so students can focus on the important part, showing us what they know.
So, at the end of the day, why does all this matter so much? What's the real impact of giving students this kind of choice and voice? Let's break it down.
It really creates this amazing ripple effect. When students get to choose, their confidence skyrockets. It unleashes their creativity. It lets them shine by using their natural strengths. And maybe, most importantly, it just tears down so many unnecessary barriers for all kinds of learners.
And this really is the bottom line. This whole approach changes assessment from something that is done to a student into something a student does for themselves. It's about empowerment. It's about giving them ownership over their own learning journey.
And that kind of leaves us with one big question, right? By rethinking the how of learning, we can unlock so much hidden potential. So the real question for all of us is how can we start empowering every single student to show the world what they truly, truly know?